There are moments in life when pain feels invisible. You show up, you smile, you keep moving, but inside something is hurting. You may be asking God, do you see this? Do you know what I'm carrying? The answer is clear. God sees your pain. Not just the pain others notice, but the pain you've never spoken out loud. Scripture reminds us that God is not distant from our struggles. He is not unaware of your tears, your disappointment, or your waiting. Every moment of endurance, every prayer whispered in silence is fully seen by him. But here's the hope. Pain is not the end of your story. What feels like a season of breaking is often God preparing a season of renewal. Renewal doesn't mean the struggle never happened. It means God takes what was broken and restores purpose to it. Just as winter prepares the ground for spring, your hardship is not wasted. It is preparing you. Sometimes God allows pressure not to destroy you, but to develop you. What you're facing today may be strengthening your faith, sharpening your character, and positioning you for what's next. And when renewal comes, it doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it starts quietly, through peace in your heart, clarity in your mind, or strength you didn't know you had. That's God reminding you, I'm still working. So don't give up in the middle of the process. Don't measure God's faithfulness by how hard today feels. Trust that the same God who sees your pain is also the God who controls the timing of your breakthrough. Hold on. Stay faithful. Keep trusting. Because a season of renewal is coming. And when it arrives, you'll see that God was with you every step of the way. There are times when pain convinces people they have been overlooked. When answers don't come quickly and circumstances don't change, it can feel as if suffering is happening in silence. But God's awareness is not limited to what is visible to others. He sees beyond appearances, beyond smiles, beyond strength that is forced just to make it through the day. He sees the quiet frustration, the unanswered prayers, the exhaustion that settles deep in the soul. Nothing about your pain is hidden from him. And nothing about your situation has escaped his attention. God's sight is not passive observation. It is personal and intentional. He does not merely notice pain from a distance. He understands it. Every tear, even the ones never shed, is accounted for. Every moment of confusion, every night spent wrestling with fear or disappointment is fully known. When words fail and emotions are tangled, God still knows exactly what is happening inside the heart. His knowledge is complete, not partial, and his understanding is perfect, not flawed. Many people assume that if God truly saw their pain, it would disappear immediately. But awareness does not always mean instant removal. Sometimes God sees the pain and allows it to remain for a season because he is working through it in ways that are not yet visible. That does not mean he is indifferent. It means his perspective is greater than the moment, and his purpose reaches further than immediate comfort. God can be fully aware of your pain while also being fully committed to your growth. Pain often speaks a language that words cannot express, and God understands that language fluently. He recognizes pain that comes from loss, from rejection, from betrayal, from waiting longer than expected. He knows the pain of feeling forgotten, overlooked, or misunderstood. He sees the pain of trying again after failure and the pain of holding on when it would be easier to quit. Even when others dismiss your struggle or minimize your experience, God never does. God's awareness of pain also means that he places value on the person experiencing it. You are not a number, not a background character, not an afterthought. Your life matters to him, and therefore, what hurts you matters to him. Pain does not disqualify you from his care. It draws his attention. When you are weak, tired, or worn down, God does not turn away. He leans in. It is important to understand that God's silence is not the same as God's absence. There are seasons when prayers feel unanswered and heaven feels quiet, but silence does not mean God has stopped seeing. Often, he is working beneath the surface where change is taking place out of sight. Just as roots grow underground before anything appears above the soil, God's work in pain often begins where no one can see it, including you. God also sees the cause of your pain, not just the pain itself. He knows what led to it. what triggered it, and what continues to sustain it. Whether the pain came through choices, circumstances, or things completely outside your control, God understands the full story. He is not confused by complexity or overwhelmed by detail. His wisdom allows him to see the whole picture while still caring about every individual moment. When pain lingers, it can create the false belief that God has forgotten or moved on. But God does not forget his people, and he does not overlook their suffering. His awareness is constant, not seasonal. Even when life feels chaotic, God remains steady. Even when emotions fluctuate, his attention does not. Even when faith feels weak, his faithfulness remains strong. Knowing that God sees your pain does not always remove the hurt, but it changes how the hurt is carried. It means you are not suffering alone. It means your struggle has meaning, your tears have value, and your endurance is noticed. God's awareness brings assurance that pain is not pointless and that suffering is not wasted. He sees, he knows, and he cares fully, deeply, and without limitation. Pain is often misunderstood as a sign of punishment, as if hardship automatically means something has gone wrong or someone has failed. But pain is not always correction. Many times it is preparation. What feels like pressure is often a process, shaping and strengthening something within you that comfort never could. God does not waste difficulty. When pain enters your life, it is not evidence that he has turned against you, but that he may be working on something greater than you can currently see. Growth rarely happens in ease. Strength is developed through resistance, endurance through challenge, and maturity through testing. Pain exposes areas that need refining and brings to the surface what might otherwise remain hidden. It reveals where trust is shallow, where dependence is misplaced, and where faith needs to grow deeper. In this way, pain becomes a tool, not to harm, but to prepare you for what lies ahead. Many people want the outcome without the process. They desire stability without learning perseverance, influence without learning humility, and victory without enduring struggle. But preparation requires time, and pain often marks that time. It slows you down, forces reflection, and creates space for growth. What feels like delay is sometimes development happening at a pace that protects you from being unprepared. Pain also reshapes perspective. When everything is comfortable, it is easy to rely on routines, habits, or personal strength. But pain removes the illusion of control. It reminds you of limitations and redirects focus toward what truly sustains you. In those moments, priorities shift, values become clearer, and dependence deepens. What once seemed important may fade, while what truly matters comes into sharper focus. Preparation through pain is not about breaking you down. It is about building you up from the inside out. God is more concerned with who you are becoming than with how quickly your circumstances change. While you may be focused on relief, God may be focused on readiness. The internal transformation taking place during hardship often determines how well you will handle future responsibility, success, or opportunity. Pain also develops resilience. When you endure what you thought you couldn't survive, strength grows in ways you didn't anticipate. You discover that you are capable of standing, believing, and moving forward even when the situation remains unresolved. That resilience becomes part of your foundation, allowing you to face future challenges with confidence rooted in experience rather than fear. Another purpose of preparation is alignment. Pain has a way of redirecting paths that may have led to stagnation or complacency. It disrupts patterns, challenges assumptions, and invites reevaluation. Sometimes pain closes doors that comfort would have kept open. In doing so, creates space for growth, change, and redirection towards something better suited for your future. Preparation through pain also equips you to help others. Struggles create empathy that comfort cannot produce. When you have walked through difficulty, you are better able to understand, encourage, and support those facing similar challenges. Pain refines compassion and deepens sensitivity, transforming personal hardship into a source of strength for others. It is important to recognize that preparation does not mean perfection. Pain does not eliminate weakness. It teaches how to navigate it. It trains you to rely on wisdom rather than impulse, patience rather than panic, and faith rather than fear. The lessons learned in hardship often become the tools needed in the next season of life. Pain is not proof that you are failing. Often, it is evidence that something is being formed. Just as materials must be tested before they can be trusted, preparation requires pressure. What you are facing now may be equipping you for responsibilities, opportunities, or growth that would overwhelm you if they arrive too soon. While pain may feel unnecessary or unfair in the moment, its purpose often becomes clearer with time. Looking back, many people realize that the seasons they would never choose were the ones that shaped them most. Preparation through pain is not about enduring suffering without hope. It is about trusting that what is being built in you now will sustain you later. Endurance is a concept that is often misunderstood. Many believe it simply means holding on, waiting for the storm to pass, or surviving hardship. But endurance is far deeper than mere survival. It is an active, intentional commitment to remain steadfast in the face of trials, even when answers seem delayed and relief feels distant. True endurance develops character, strengthens faith, and prepares a person to receive the full measure of God's renewal. It is in the act of enduring that growth and transformation take root. When challenges arise, it is natural to want immediate resolution. Pain, disappointment, and uncertainty can create a strong desire for quick fixes, for solutions that erase discomfort and restore peace instantly. Yet life rarely operates according to that timeline. Seasons of difficulty are often prolonged, not to punish, but to cultivate endurance. Endurance is about learning to trust God's process even when the timing of his intervention is not yet visible. It is about holding on to hope when circumstances suggest surrender. Endurance teaches patience. In a world where instant gratification is expected, waiting becomes one of the hardest disciplines. Pain stretches time, and the delay of answers forces individuals to confront internal doubts, fears, and weaknesses. It is within these moments of waiting that endurance strengthens the inner foundation of faith. Patience, born from enduring hardship, is not passive, it is active, rooted in the belief that God is present and working even when results are unseen. Those who learn to wait without losing hope discover resilience that cannot be manufactured in comfort. Endurance also builds perspective. When a person faces prolonged struggles, they are given an opportunity to examine what truly matters. Temporary losses, failures, or discomforts begin to lose the overwhelming power they initially held. Enduring hardship allows one to see the bigger picture, to understand that pain is often temporary and that each challenge carries lessons and preparation for the next chapter of life. Perspective gained through endurance reshapes priorities, refines decision-making, and strengthens clarity of purpose. Another vital aspect of endurance is faith in unseen outcomes. Renewal, breakthrough, and restoration rarely arrive on the exact timetable we expect. Faith requires believing that what is promised or what is hoped for will come, even when there is no visible evidence. Endurance trains the heart to continue trusting when circumstances contradict hope, when emotions waver, and when doubt threatens to take hold. It is this persistence in faith that positions individuals to receive the fullness of God's promise when the season of renewal finally arrives. Endurance is also an instrument of transformation. Just as muscles grow stronger under consistent pressure, the spirit grows stronger through persistent perseverance. Repeated trials, failures, and moments of weariness contribute to the shaping of character. Each act of holding on despite difficulty teaches lessons that comfort cannot provide. Those who endure learn humility, gain wisdom, and develop an understanding of their own strength, which allows them to face future challenges with greater courage and see confidence. A critical, often overlooked element of endurance is the quiet work it accomplishes within the heart. While external circumstances may remain unchanged, internal growth occurs through each moment of patience and persistence. Endurance softens hearts that may have become bitter, cultivates trust in those who may have relied too heavily on themselves, and encourages a reliance on God rather than on immediate solutions. The silent transformation that comes through enduring difficulty is often what equips a person to handle the renewal that follows. Endurance also fosters hope. When a person continues to hold on despite the weight of trials, it demonstrates a belief that suffering is not the final word. This hope is not naive or blind. It is anchored in the conviction that hardship is temporary and that God's timing is perfect. Endurance teaches that waiting is not wasted, that perseverance matters, and that persistence opens the door for the very renewal one is anticipating. Finally, endurance connects personal struggle to a larger story. It reminds individuals that they are not alone in their trials and that suffering is a universal human experience. In enduring, people often become examples for others, demonstrating the power of faith, patience, and steadfastness. The lessons learned through holding on not only prepare a person for personal renewal, but also inspire and strengthen those who witness it. To endure is to trust, to persevere, and to believe that every challenge has a purpose. It is the bridge between pain and renewal, the path through difficulty that leads to restoration, and the means by which strength and character are forged. True endurance is never wasted, and it ensures that when renewal finally arrives, the individual is ready to embrace it fully, with a heart, mind, and spirit strengthened through persistent, unwavering perseverance. God's work in our lives often happens in ways that are unseen. It is easy to measure progress by what we can see, improvements in circumstances, immediate solutions, or tangible changes. But spiritual growth, transformation, and preparation do not always follow visible patterns. Much of God's work is silent, subtle, and gradual. It occurs beneath the surface, where effort is unseen, challenges are private, and faith is tested quietly. The fact that we do not see immediate change does not mean that nothing is happening. God is constantly at work, even in seasons of apparent stagnation or struggle. Many people are tempted to judge God's faithfulness by visible outcomes. When relief does not come quickly or circumstances remain difficult, doubt can creep in. Thoughts like, God is not hearing me or nothing is happening often arise. Yet, God's timing and methods are not always aligned with human expectations. His perspective is eternal, comprehensive, and perfectly wise, which means that he can be orchestrating change in ways that are hidden from immediate perception. What appears slow or stagnant may actually be a period of profound preparation. God's unseen work is purposeful. While you may feel stuck or frustrated, he may be shaping character, cultivating patience, or strengthening faith. These internal changes are not always evident outwardly, but are critical for future growth. For example, a period of waiting may develop resilience that you will need for challenges ahead. Trials may refine priorities, redirect energy, and strengthen dependence on God rather than self. Even when nothing appears to be changing externally, transformation is often occurring internally. Another important aspect of God working behind the scenes is that it teaches trust. When we cannot see the full picture, we are forced to rely on faith rather than sight. We learn to believe in God's promises even when evidence is not immediately apparent. This reliance strengthens the spirit, nurtures patience, and deepens our relationship with Him. Trust developed in these unseen seasons becomes a foundation that holds strong when visible blessings or solutions finally appear. God's hidden work also prevents premature outcomes. Timing is crucial, and sometimes if a breakthrough occurred too early, it could be destructive. Like a gardener who waits for the right season to harvest fruit, God knows the perfect moment for your circumstances to change. The waiting period ensures that you are ready to handle the blessing, opportunity, or transformation that is coming. Preparation that happens in silence makes eventual success more lasting, meaningful, and sustainable. It is also important to understand that unseen work is not passive. God is actively moving in ways that you may not notice, providing guidance through subtle circumstances, placing people in your path, or removing distractions that might otherwise interfere with growth. He orchestrates events, shapes decisions, and redirects situations without requiring dramatic displays. Though his methods may seem quiet, the results are profound, affecting both your present and your future in ways you cannot immediately comprehend. Seasons of unseen work also teach perseverance. When outcomes are not immediate, you are encouraged to continue in faith, prayer, and action. You learn that waiting is not wasted and that persistence matters. This period develops endurance, resilience, and the ability to trust God even when the visible world seems contrary to his promises. The unseen work becomes a training ground, equipping you with the skills, understanding, and spiritual maturity necessary for the next season. Moreover, unseen work reminds us of the importance of perspective. Life is often evaluated through short-term lenses, but God sees the entirety of time and eternity. What may appear insignificant, delayed, or even unfair can be part of a larger plan that leads to growth, fulfillment, and restoration. Understanding that God is always working, even when invisible, helps shift focus from immediate frustration to long-term hope and trust. Even in moments of discouragement, God's silent work is creating opportunities for transformation. Emotional wounds may be healing, habits may be reshaped, and understanding may be expanding, all without outward recognition. The invisible aspects of growth are often the most powerful because they strengthen foundations that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Finally, recognizing that God works even when we cannot see immediate change fosters patience, faithfulness, and hope. It teaches that timing matters, that preparation is critical, and that transformation often begins in quiet, unseen ways. When renewal, restoration, or breakthrough arrives, the individual is equipped not only to receive it, but also to sustain it with wisdom, strength, and grace developed during the unseen work. God's hidden hand is always at work, ensuring that when the moment of change finally comes, it is both perfect and purposeful. The idea that your current season is not your final chapter is a truth that many struggle to fully grasp. When life feels heavy with pain, disappointment, or delay, it can be easy to assume that things will never change. The heart begins to believe that current struggles define the entirety of existence, that the weight of today will never lift, and that what is happening now is permanent. Yet life is a series of seasons, each with its own purpose, lesson, and timing. What you are experiencing today is temporary and is not meant to be the conclusion of your story. Seasons of difficulty often feel endless because we are living them in real time. Pain, loss, or hardship has a way of stretching perception and making time seem longer than it is. Yet God's plan moves on a timeline that transcends human understanding. What feels overwhelming now may be the foundation for future blessings, growth, or opportunities that are not yet visible. Recognizing that the present is not permanent allows hope to remain alive and encourages the heart to keep moving forward. Understanding that the current season is not final also helps prevent despair from taking root. When people believe that their struggles define them permanently, they can become discouraged, resigned, or even hopeless. But realizing that life is filled with cycles of change, some joyful, some challenging, reminds us that pain is a part of a larger process, not the end. Renewal and restoration are always possibilities, even when circumstances seem stagnant. This award, Ines, encourages perseverance and faith Even in the midst of difficulty, the temporary nature of any season also allows for growth and preparation. What is happening now, no matter how painful, is shaping your perspective, character, and spiritual maturity. Every trial carries lessons, and every challenge strengthens resilience. Looking at the current season as a chapter rather than the conclusion provides space to reflect, learn, and grow. Pain is often transformative. It prepares individuals for responsibilities, opportunities, and experiences that they could not handle if they were not refined and strengthened first. Recognizing that this is not your final chapter also encourages trust in the unseen future. Faith requires belief in possibilities that cannot yet be observed. Even when circumstances appear unchanging, holding on to hope allows you to remain open to change, guidance, and breakthrough. Trusting that the present is temporary encourages patience and reduces the temptation to give up or settle for less than what God intends. Each season is part of a larger narrative, and patience ensures that the story unfolds according to its intended design. Another important element of this truth is perspective. Looking at life as a series of chapters rather than one static reality helps maintain focus on long-term goals and aspirations. It allows the mind and heart to step back from temporary setbacks and evaluate situations in the context of a larger journey. By understanding that current struggles are not permanent, you can maintain hope and direction even when circumstances seem confusing or unfair. Acknowledging that this is not the final chapter also reinforces resilience. Life's trials test strength, patience, and endurance, but each challenge overcome adds to the foundation for future success. The lessons learned, the skills developed, and the faith cultivated during hardship equip you to face new seasons with greater confidence and wisdom. Your story is continually being written, and the experiences of today are laying the groundwork for triumphs that may still be unseen. This understanding also shifts focus from despair to action. When you recognize that the current season is temporary, it becomes possible to invest energy in growth, preparation, and perseverance rather than giving in to hopelessness. Even small steps taken today, guided by faith, can lead to progress and change over time. Your actions combined with patience and trust